Warning, this video contains spoilers for The Batman. The Batman's ending and post-credits scene explained. He is vengeance, he is the night, he is finally in theaters. That's right, folks, The Batman is out in theaters everywhere at long last, and for my money, it's a damn good movie. While it might cost you a little bit more to see The Batman at AMC or Regal, that hasn't dissuaded plenty of Bat fans from seeing Robert Pattinson's take on The Dark Knight. The Matt Reeves-directed neo-noir superhero story gives us a dark, dank, and unsettling version of Gotham City very early on in Bruce Wayne's career as the Caped Crusader. Faced with a series of murders perpetuated by a Zodiac killer-inspired Riddler, Batman must race against time to solve this case before it's too late. Now, if you want to read our spoiler-free review of the film, or plenty of other deep dives into all things The Batman, make sure you check out all of our Batman Week offerings over on Nerdist.com. However, chances are that you clicked on this video because you've already seen The Batman and you're still reeling from the ramifications of what happens in the film's epic finale. We're going to break down everything you need to know about The Batman's ending, the post-credit scene, and what they mean for the future in just a moment. But if you prefer to read all about it, Rosie Knight has you covered over on Nerdist.com. However, obviously, to talk about this stuff, we will be spoiling what happens in The Batman. So if you haven't seen The Batman yet and you're worried about spoilers, before you comment about that, leave. No, seriously, there's gonna be spoilers. Just leave already. Alright, let's get into it, shall we? Now, despite the chaos, destruction, and trail of dead left in the Riddler's wake, the Batman ends on a surprisingly hopeful note. Rather than skulking in the shadows and using fear as his sole tool in his never-ending quest for vengeance, Batman is seen in broad daylight helping citizens in need and cementing himself as a symbol of hope for a city that's in dire need of one. However, with Gotham in ruins and new enemies waiting in the wings, Bruce Wayne has a difficult road to recovery ahead of him. Hopefully, though, with his new approach to crime fighting and his realization that vengeance can't solve all your problems, it means that Gotham won't be the only thing facing renewal. The Riddler's plot to flood Gotham City is straight out of the events of Scott Snyder and Greg Capullo's Zero Year storyline, and much like in that comic, he succeeded and left Gotham reeling. Naturally, with so much of Gotham City cut off from key services and people in dire need of help, it's going to create a power vacuum that the city's criminal element are bound to fill, especially in the wake of Carmine Falcone's assassination by the Riddler. In addition to Zero Year, the idea of what happens to a Gotham City racked by natural disasters has been explored several times previously. In the wake of the earthquake in the 1998 Cataclysm storyline, gangs and supervillains carved up Gotham City into their own twisted little kingdoms in the No Man's Land story arc. Chances are we could see elements of this incorporated into an eventual sequel, which, as we reported earlier this week, Matt Reeves is already discussing with Warner Brothers. Unfortunately, though, for fans of The Bat and the Cat, much like in the Telltale Games Batman game, these two won't be putting aside their goth gear just yet in favor of settling down. After getting justice for her friend Anya and surviving the world's worst family reunion with her not-so-dearly departed dad Carmine Falcone, Selina Kyle is ready to leave Gotham behind. While she tries to encourage Bruce to leave Gotham as well during their graveyard goodbye, Bruce is, for the time being, dedicated to being Gotham's #1 Batboy. She tells him that she's heading to Bloodhaven, which should immediately raise eyebrows for any longtime DC Comics fan. First introduced in 1996 as Nightwing #1, the New Jersey-based city is best known as Nightwing's base of operations after Dick Grayson flew the coop to carve out his own niche as a crime fighter and chase down the villainous Blockbuster. And while it may seem pretty early on in Batman's career for him to take on a young apprentice after a tragic circus accident, there is a precedent in the comics to see Robin join the fold in Batman's 3rd year of existence. Then again, considering what Robert Pattinson said about his vision for Robin in a post-screening Q&A, well, maybe we can hold off on seeing the Boy Wonder until later on in this purported trilogy. When asked by Dorkaholics Neil Bowie if he wanted his Batman to have a Robin, well, Pattinson said, yeah, but he has to be 13. That's the only way I'll accept this. I love Death in the Family. I think that'd be so cool. People are so scared of it, but it's kind of exciting. I think it would be a really fun addition. Now, if you haven't read Death in the Family, spoiler alert, but it doesn't go too well for old Robin. However, considering another key component of that storyline is introduced in this movie as well, anything is possible, but more on that in just a moment. As for what the future holds for Selina Kyle, I would fully expect to see Catwoman saunter back into Batman's life sooner rather than later. During a post-screening Q&A, Matt Reeves said, "We have a lot of ideas for things we want to do, and for sure we want Selina to continue. To me, their relationship and what they are to each other, that's the heart of this movie." Look, as long as they pay homage to the basketball scene from the 2004 disaster piece Catwoman, we are down for any and all spin-offs involving Selina Kyle. Anyway, last but not least, we come to Edward Nashton himself, aka the Riddler. While his plans to blow up Gotham's seawall were successful, his other plans to murder Mayor Bella Real and others at the Gotham Square Garden Disaster Relief Center with an army of crazed cosplayers were ultimately thwarted. While Nashton has a meltdown in his Arkham Asylum cell about how unfair life can be, he's comforted by his neighbor next door in the adjoining cell. Credited as an unseen Arkham inmate, this mystery character played by Barry Keoghan says he wants to help the Riddler. He tells the crying Edward, after all, Gotham loves a comeback story, then comes up with a riddle for him to solve. The more you have, the less one is worth. Edward very quickly realizes the answer is a friend. This demented duo begins laughing together as the camera reveals this mystery man in the cell next door. We see a man with a mutilated face who bears more than a little resemblance to Frank Quitely's, shall we say, textured portrayal of the Joker on the cover of The Joker #1. While it isn't stated explicitly in the movie, director Matt Reeves confirmed that this is in fact the Joker in a post-screening Q&A. However, he has not yet become the clown prince of crime that Batman fans know and love. Anyway, with that said, it has us wondering if maybe Matt Reeves might be looking to adapt Tom King and Mikael Janin's The War of Jokes and Riddles storyline for a future film. The 2017 story saw Joker and Riddler teaming up during Batman's second year of crime fighting to take down the Caped Crusader. However, both Riddler and Joker want to be the one who ultimately takes Batman down, which soon turns their battle against Batman into a war against each other, with Gotham caught in the crossfire. And considering it coincides with Batman's marriage proposal to Catwoman, it could be a great way to bring Selina Kyle back into the fold as well. Of course, we are getting ahead of ourselves just a little bit, but it's a cool thought nonetheless. And finally, if you waited through the credits expecting this epic post-credit scene on par with like Deathstroke appearing on Lex Luthor's boat or something else that would very clearly tee up the next Batman movie, well, you might be disappointed. Those who wait through the credits are rewarded with the Riddler's signature green question mark appearing in the same computer code he used to communicate with the Batman during the movie. A URL briefly flashes on the screen for rataalada.com. El Rata Alada, Spanish for the winged rat, was one of the Riddler's clues for the Batman in this movie. And Warner Brothers created an interactive site for fans to play an augmented reality game that ties directly into the film. If you head to the website, the Riddler challenges you to solve a series of riddles pertaining to the movie. If you can crack the code, you'll be rewarded with a password-protected zip file, including some files that Bruce Wayne would definitely like to get his hands on. Just make sure you try to solve the riddles using your noggin, or else you might get a lecture from old Edward Nashton as well. Anyway, folks, there you have it. That is everything you need to know about the Batman's ending and post-credit scene. We'll have a deep dive into the film's Easter eggs next week, but in the meantime, it's Batman Week here at Nerdist. From an examination of Batman lore that didn't originate in the comics to histories of all the film's major characters and so much more, we've got a little something for everyone. For now though, tell us, what did you think of the Batman? What do you want to see from a sequel? And what was your reaction to that unseen inmate?
Stop the press.
Let us know in the comments below, and for the latest and greatest in the world of pop culture, stay tuned to Nerdist.com.